Under the silver glow of a full moon, Ella arrived at the edge of the quiet lake. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of fresh pine and wildflowers. A soft breeze rippled across the water, creating gentle waves that shimmered like liquid diamonds. Ella had come here to escape the noise of her busy city life. She set down her small bag on the grass and looked up at the towering willow tree by the lake. Its branches swayed gently, as if greeting her, whispering secrets only the wind could hear. Ella felt a sense of calm wrap around her, soothing her restless mind. The willow tree seemed ancient, its thick trunk full of ridges and lines like an old map. Ella touched its bark, feeling its cool, rough texture under her fingers. She wondered how many stories this tree might hold, how many people had sat beneath its branches seeking peace. A small bench stood nearby, perfectly placed to enjoy the view of the moonlit lake. She sat down, letting her thoughts drift away with the sound of the rustling leaves. It felt as though the tree was speaking to her, in a voice too soft to understand. As Ella leaned against the willow, a soft voice broke the stillness of the night. It was gentle, like a lullaby carried on the wind. At first, she thought it was her imagination playing tricks. But as she focused, the whispers became clearer, like words forming in the rustle of the leaves. "Welcome, traveler," the voice seemed to say, filling her heart with a strange warmth. Startled but unafraid, Ella looked around, her eyes scanning the lake and the tree. Was it the tree speaking, or the wind? Ella closed her eyes, listening closely. The whispers spoke of the lake's history, of forgotten times when people gathered under the willow to tell stories and share dreams. Each word felt like a thread weaving into her soul, pulling her closer to the heart of this magical place. She felt no fear, only wonder. Perhaps the lake and the tree had been waiting for someone to hear their tales. She smiled softly, feeling as though she was exactly where she was meant to be. The whispers grew into a melody, soft and enchanting, as if the tree itself was singing. Ella found herself humming along, the tune oddly familiar. She tried to remember where she might have heard it before, but came up with nothing. The melody made her feel safe, like a warm blanket on a cold night. She closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her like a gentle wave. The stars above twinkled brighter, as though they too were dancing to the willow's song. As the melody faded, Ella noticed a glowing light coming from the base of the tree. Curious, she knelt by the roots and saw a small, shimmering stone embedded in the earth. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, radiating warmth. Ella picked it up carefully, feeling a surge of energy flow through her. The whispers returned, now clearer, as if the stone had unlocked a deeper connection to the tree. It whispered of trust, hope, and the power of quiet places. Holding the glowing stone, Ella felt a wave of serenity wash over her. The whispers spoke again, guiding her to close her eyes and listen deeply. She felt the presence of the willow, ancient and wise, sharing its gift with her. "You carry the weight of many thoughts," it said. "Let them go, for this night is yours to find peace." Ella breathed deeply, releasing the worries she had carried for so long. She felt lighter, as though a great burden had been lifted from her heart. The willow's branches swayed gently, wrapping her in a cocoon of tranquility. It felt like the tree was giving her a part of its endless patience, teaching her to slow down and cherish each moment. The stone in her hand grew warmer, its glow merging with the moonlight. Ella felt as though she had received a treasure, not of gold or jewels, but of peace and clarity. She smiled, her heart full of gratitude. As dawn approached, The whispers grew softer, fading into the hum of the waking forest. The lake reflected the first rays of sunlight, painting the water in hues of pink and gold. Ella sat quietly, watching the world come alive around her. She held the glowing stone close, knowing it was more than just a keepsake. It was a reminder of this magical night, of the whispers that had guided her to peace. Ella stood beneath the willow one last time, placing her hand on its trunk. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. The tree's branches swayed as if acknowledging her. Though she had to leave, Ella promised to return one day. She walked away, feeling renewed and ready to face the world again. The whispers of the willow stayed with her, a gentle reminder that peace could always be found, if only she listened. As Ella walked away from the willow, the glowing stone pulsed softly in her hand, as though it held a life of its own. The path leading away from the lake was covered in dewdrops, sparkling under the first light of dawn. Each step felt lighter, as though she had left her worries behind under the ancient tree. Yet something inside her whispered to pause and reflect. She sat on a large rock by the path, gazing back at the lake one more time. The lake's surface was perfectly still, reflecting the soft colors of the morning sky. Ella could see the willow tree standing tall, its branches stretching out like arms in a gentle embrace. She closed her eyes, letting her thoughts flow freely. The whispers of the willow still lingered in her mind, urging her to cherish this newfound peace. Ella realized that the path ahead was not just one of travel, but one of rediscovery of herself and the world around her. As she continued on the path, Ella heard the soft crunch of leaves behind her. Turning around, she saw a figure emerging from the woods, a kind-looking old man with a walking stick. His eyes twinkled like the morning stars, and his smile was warm and knowing. The old man chuckled, his gaze full of understanding. "That tree is older than anyone knows," he said. "It chooses who to speak to, offering guidance to those who need it most." Ella felt a sense of awe, realizing how special her night by the lake had been. The man walked with her for a while, sharing tales of the lake and its magical tree. Each story felt like a thread connecting her to the land and its mysteries. The path led Ella and the old man to a small wooden bridge that crossed a crystal-clear stream. The water below sparkled like liquid light, and fish darted through it, their scales catching the sun. The old man stopped and gestured toward the bridge. "This is the Bridge of Dreams," he said. "Cross it with an open heart, and it will show you what lies within your soul." Ella hesitated but felt a pull to step forward. As she walked across, the world seemed to shift around her. The air grew still, and the stream below reflected images from her life, moments of joy, sorrow, and growth. Ella saw herself as a child, laughing by a river, and as a young woman, dreaming of adventure. The whispers of the willow echoed in her mind, reminding her to embrace every part of her journey. By the time she reached the other side, she felt a deep sense of acceptance. On the other side of the bridge, Ella noticed a small stone hut nestled among the trees. Smoke curled from its chimney, and the scent of herbs filled the air. The old man smiled. "This is where I live," he said. "The willow entrusted me with its secrets long ago. But now, it seems you are the new keeper of its wisdom." Ella felt a surge of responsibility, holding the glowing stone tighter. Inside the hut, the walls were lined with shelves full of books and jars of dried flowers. The old man handed Ella a small leather-bound journal. "Write what you've learned," he said. "The whispers of the willow are meant to be shared, so others may find their peace." Ella opened the journal. her mind brimming with thoughts and memories from her night at the lake. She realized that sharing the willow's wisdom was the next step in her journey. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Ella prepared to leave the hut and continue her journey. The old man placed his hand on her shoulder, his eyes full of encouragement. "Remember," he said, "the willow's gift is not just for you. Carry its peace into the world, and you will always find your way back to it." Ella nodded, feeling a sense of purpose she had never known before. Walking back toward the lake one last time, Ella paused under the willow's branches. She whispered a quiet thank you, placing the glowing stone at the tree's roots. The whispers surrounded her once more, not as words but as a feeling of promise that she would never be alone. As Ella walked away, the lake and the willow faded into the distance, but their magic stayed with her, a guiding light for the path ahead. Ella walked further down the forest path, her heart lighter but filled with curiosity about what lay ahead. The air around her grew warmer, and sunlight streamed through the trees, creating patterns of gold and green on the ground. She found herself surrounded by a meadow bursting with wildflowers, their vibrant colors swaying in the gentle breeze. It felt as though nature itself was welcoming her into a new chapter of her life. In the distance, she saw a small gathering of deer grazing peacefully by a stream. Their calm movements reminded her of the serenity she had felt by the willow. Ella sat in the grass, watching them and reflecting on the old man's words. She realized that the willow's wisdom wasn't just a gift, it was a responsibility. She had been entrusted to carry its peace into the world, and now her journey was about discovering how. As Ella rested in the meadow, a soft rustling in the grass caught her attention. She turned to see a tiny rabbit hopping toward her, its nose twitching with curiosity. Around its neck was a delicate silver chain holding a small scroll. Ella gently reached out, taking the scroll with care. She unrolled it to reveal a message written in elegant handwriting. "When the time comes, listen to your heart. The answers are already within you." The message felt like it was meant just for her. The rabbit lingered for a moment before bounding away, disappearing into the tall grass. Ella clutched the scroll, feeling a deep sense of connection to the meadow and its gentle magic. It was as though the willow's whispers had followed her here, guiding her in subtle ways. She smiled, realizing that this journey was about more than finding peace, it was about trusting herself. Ella followed the sound of flowing water, her steps light as she approached a clear, bubbling stream. The sunlight danced on its surface, and the water's song seemed to echo the melody she had heard under the willow. She knelt by the stream, cupping her hands to drink its cool, refreshing water. As she did, the melody grew louder, filling her ears and heart with its soothing rhythm. The stream seemed alive, its flow steady and purposeful. Ella closed her eyes, letting the song guide her thoughts. She imagined herself back at the lake, sitting beneath the willow, and felt its whispers surround her once more. The stream was a continuation of that magic, a reminder that the willow's wisdom flowed through the world like water, touching everything it passed. Ella felt a deep sense of gratitude, knowing she was part of something much greater than herself. As the sun began to set, Ella stumbled upon a clearing with a circle of ancient stones standing tall and proud. Each stone was etched with symbols that seemed to tell a story. She ran her fingers over the carvings, feeling their rough texture and wondering about the people who had placed them here. The symbols reminded her of the glowing stone she had left at the willow's roots, connecting her once again to its magic. Sitting in the center of the circle, Ella felt a wave of memories wash over her, not just her own, but those of the willow and the land itself. She saw visions of travelers like her, finding peace and purpose under the tree's branches. The whispers returned, softer now, as though encouraging her to carry these stories forward. Ella realized that her journey wasn't just for her own growth, it was part of a legacy that stretched back through time. As night fell, Ella found herself at the edge of the forest, where the path opened into a vast horizon dotted with stars. She looked back one last time, her heart full of gratitude for the journey she had taken. Though the willow and the lake were now far behind, their presence lingered within her, a quiet strength she could call upon whenever she needed. Ella stepped onto the open road, carrying the lessons of the willow and the whispers of the land with her. The glowing stone, the melodies, and the symbols had all taught her one thing: peace and wisdom were not places to find but gifts to carry. With every step forward, she promised to share those gifts with the world, just as the willow had shared them with her. And as she walked, the whispers faded into the night, leaving only the soft hum of her own steady heart. Ella's journey led her to a quiet village nestled in the valley. As she walked through its cobblestone streets, she noticed lanterns hanging from every doorway, glowing softly with golden light. A friendly villager approached her, offering a lantern with a gentle smile. "Take this," they said. "It is the lantern of hope. Wherever it shines, it reminds us that light can always be found, even in the darkest times." Holding the lantern, Ella felt a surge of warmth and comfort. She thanked the villager and carried it with her, its glow lighting her path. As night fell, the lantern's light seemed to grow brighter, illuminating not just the way forward but also the quiet corners of her mind. It reminded her of the willow's wisdom, guiding her to find strength in herself and offer hope to others along her journey. On the outskirts of the village, Ella came across a circle of people gathered around a campfire. The flames danced, casting flickering shadows on the faces of the listeners. An elderly storyteller sat at the center, their voice weaving tales of courage, love, and mystery. When the storyteller finished, they turned to Ella and asked, "Do you have a story to share?" Ella hesitated, but then began to speak about the willow and the whispers that had guided her. As she spoke, the circle grew quiet, her words weaving a spell of wonder and peace. By the end, she realized that sharing the willow's wisdom had brought her closer to understanding her own purpose to inspire others with the magic she had found. The next morning, Ella noticed a tall mountain rising in the distance, its peak hidden by clouds. Villagers told her it was called the Mountain of Reflection, where travelers could find clarity and purpose. Drawn by its mystery, Ella decided to climb it, the lantern of hope lighting her way. The path was steep and winding, but the whispers of the willow echoed in her mind, urging her onward. As she climbed higher, the air grew cooler, and the world below seemed smaller, more peaceful. At the summit, Ella stood on the edge, looking out at the vast expanse of forests, lakes, and valleys. She felt a deep sense of connection to everything she had seen and experienced. As night fell on the mountain, the sky transformed into a canvas of stars, their light piercing the darkness. Ella sat under the open sky, marveling at their brilliance. She felt as though each star held a story, a reminder of those who had come before her and those who would follow. The lantern of hope beside her seemed to glow brighter, as if in harmony with the stars above. Suddenly, one star shone brighter than the rest, its light casting a gentle beam toward her. It felt like a gift, a symbol of guidance and encouragement. Ella closed her eyes, letting the light fill her with renewed strength and purpose. She realized that the journey wasn't just about what she had learned, but about what she could give. The stars reminded her that even a small light could brighten the darkest night. Descending the mountain the next day, Ella felt lighter, as though she carried the stars' light within her. The whispers of the willow had transformed from quiet voices into a steady resolve guiding her every step. She returned to the path she had started on, now filled with gratitude for the journey and the lessons it had brought. At the edge of the forest, Ella paused to look back one final time. The willow and the lake were distant memories, yet their magic remained alive in her heart. She made a promise to herself to carry the wisdom of the whispers forward, spreading hope, peace, and understanding wherever she went. As Ella walked into the horizon, the lantern of hope lit her way, a constant reminder of the light she had found and the light she would become. Ella's journey brought her to a hidden garden tucked away behind tall stone walls. The gate creaked as she pushed it open, revealing a space overgrown with wildflowers and vines. In the center stood an old fountain, its water sparkling under the sun. As Ella wandered through the garden, she noticed small plaques scattered among the flowers, each engraved with a dream someone had once cherished. Reading the dreams, she felt a bittersweet mix of sadness and hope. Some dreams were simple, a wish for love, a hope for adventure, while others were grand, like building a city or traveling the world. Ella knelt beside the fountain and whispered her own dream to the garden to carry the peace of the willow to everyone she met. The garden seemed to stir, as if hearing her wish, and a soft breeze carried her words into the sky. Leaving the garden, Ella followed the sound of rushing water and discovered a wide, flowing river. Its current was strong, carrying leaves and twigs downstream. As she stood on the riverbank, a small wooden boat drifted toward her, as if inviting her to step inside. Ella climbed into the boat, and the river's current carried her forward, the gentle rocking lulling her into a sense of calm. The river seemed alive, its flow steady and purposeful. As Ella drifted, she thought about the people and places she had encountered on her journey. The river's whispers blended with her own thoughts, reminding her that life, like water, never stands still. It flows forward, carrying dreams and memories with it. Ella felt grateful for the journey she had taken and resolved to keep moving forward, embracing every moment. As the river carried Ella to a small dock, she found herself in a village glowing with lanterns of every size and color. The villagers greeted her warmly, their faces lit with kindness. They explained that each lantern represented a wish made by someone in the village, and at night, the lantern's light carried those wishes to the stars. Ella smiled, feeling a deep connection to the village's spirit of hope and unity. One villager handed Ella a lantern and invited her to add her wish to the night sky. She wrote her wish carefully, may the peace of the willow touch every heart. As the lantern floated upward, its light joined the others, creating a tapestry of glowing stars above the village. Ella watched in awe, feeling the magic of shared dreams and the strength they gave to the people below. Beyond the village, Ella came to a wooden bridge stretching over a calm, reflective lake. As she walked across it, she saw her reflection in the water, but it wasn't the Ella she remembered. This reflection showed her as strong, peaceful, and full of light, carrying the whispers of the willow in her heart. She realized how much she had grown since her journey began. Standing in the center of the bridge, Ella let the stillness of the lake wash over her. The reflection reminded her that she was no longer searching for peace, it was already within her. The bridge felt like a crossing, not just over water, but into a new chapter of her life. Ella smiled, knowing she was ready to carry the willow's whispers into the world. Ella's journey ended where it had begun, at the edge of the forest, under the vast expanse of the night sky. The whispers of the willow had faded, replaced by her own steady inner voice. She looked at the horizon, where a new path awaited, and felt a surge of excitement for the adventures to come. Carrying the lantern of hope and the lessons of her journey, Ella stepped forward with confidence. She no longer feared the unknown, for she had discovered the light within herself. The willow's magic was no longer a distant memory, it was a part of her, guiding her every step. And as she walked into the future, the stars above seemed to shine just a little brighter, reflecting the hope she carried in her heart. As Ella ventured deeper into the forest, she found a narrow path lined with ancient trees. Their gnarled branches intertwined overhead, creating a natural archway. The air was filled with faint whispers, echoing as if the forest itself was alive. These whispers didn't come from the willow, but seemed to carry messages from travelers who had walked this path before her. Ella listened closely, feeling as though each whisper offered a fragment of wisdom. They spoke of courage, love, and the importance of staying true to oneself. The path felt endless, yet the echoes comforted her, reminding her she was never alone. Every step she took brought her closer to understanding the importance of sharing the light she carried, even in places where shadows lingered. The path ended at a serene lake, its surface perfectly still under the glow of the full moon. Ella knelt by the water and saw her reflection once more, this time illuminated by the moon's gentle light. She noticed something different in her reflection. It now held the faces of those she had met on her journey, each one smiling back at her. The lake seemed to whisper to her heart, urging her to remember the connections she had made and the lessons she had learned. Ella dipped her hand into the cool water, feeling its calming embrace. As ripples spread across the surface, she realized that her actions, no matter how small, could create waves that touched others far beyond her sight. Ella woke the next morning to the soft sound of wind moving through the trees. It wasn't an ordinary breeze, it carried a melody, as though the forest itself was singing. She followed the sound to an open meadow where tall grasses swayed in harmony with the song. The music was soothing, filling her with a sense of peace and belonging. As Ella stood in the meadow, she felt as though the wind was speaking to her, reminding her of the strength she had gained. The melody blended with the whispers of the willow, creating a symphony of guidance and hope. Ella raised her arms, letting the wind carry away her doubts and fears, leaving her lighter and more connected to the world around her. Ella came across a small gathering of travelers huddled around a campfire. They welcomed her warmly, offering her a seat and sharing stories of their journeys. Each story carried a message of kindness, resilience, and the power of compassion. The fire crackled brightly, casting a golden glow that reminded Ella of the lantern of hope she carried. As Ella shared her own story, the travelers listened intently, their faces illuminated by the firelight. She realized that by sharing her journey, she was passing on the light she had found. The campfire became a symbol of unity, where strangers became friends, and their shared warmth dispelled the night's chill. Ella's journey brought her to a hill overlooking the forest, the lake, and the distant mountains she had crossed. Standing at the hilltop, she looked at the horizon, where the first rays of dawn painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. She held the lantern of hope high, its glow merging with the rising sun, creating a light that felt eternal. In that moment, Ella understood that her journey was both an end and a beginning. The whispers of the willow, the echoes of the path, and the wisdom she had gained were now a part of her. She smiled, knowing she was ready to continue her journey, not as a seeker, but as a beacon of hope for others. As the sun rose higher, Ella stepped forward, carrying the eternal light of the willow within her heart. Ella's journey took her to a sacred place known only to those who truly sought wisdom. In the center stood a great stone circle where many travelers had gathered, each carrying their own light. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the very earth was holding its breath. As Ella approached, the travelers nodded to her, recognizing the glow of the lantern of hope. The leader of the gathering, an elder with eyes full of stories, welcomed her. "You have brought the light of the willow," she said softly. "Now, it is time for you to share your gift with all of us." Ella stepped forward, holding her lantern high, and the people around her gathered in a circle, their hearts open to the wisdom she had to offer. The light from her lantern connected them all, uniting their spirits in a bond of shared hope. As the group stood together, the elder began to speak of the power of silence. "There is a prayer that is never spoken aloud," she said. "It is felt in the heart." In the quiet moments of reflection, Ella closed her eyes and felt the prayer deep within her soul. The wind carried her unspoken words, her gratitude and love, to the skies above. Ella understood that sometimes the most powerful messages were those that were not spoken, but felt. In that moment, the whispers of the willow were joined by her own silent prayer, a promise to continue spreading light, peace, and hope. The group stood in silence, each person praying in their own way, their spirits bound together by the power of the unspoken. As the night sky stretched above them, Ella gazed at the stars, their light piercing the dark expanse. The elder spoke again, her voice calm and steady. "These stars are the dreams of those who have passed, their light continuing to guide us." Ella nodded, feeling the weight of the truth in the elder's words. Each star, a soul's dream, illuminated the world below. Ella raised her lantern once more, watching as its light seemed to blend with the stars above. The light from her lantern was not just hers, it was a part of the stars, a part of the dreams of all who had walked before her. She smiled, knowing that her journey was not just her own, it was connected to the countless souls who had dreamed and hoped before her. In the days that followed, Ella continued her travels, but now she carried the stories and wisdom of the gathering with her. Everywhere she went, she shared the light of the willow, passing it on to others who were in need of guidance. She began to realize that every action, no matter how small, created a ripple, a wave of change that could touch countless lives. In the evening, as she walked through a small village, she noticed a group of children playing by the river. She stopped to watch them, and as they looked up at her, she smiled and shared the story of the willow. The children listened with wide eyes, their imaginations sparked by the magic of the tale. Ella felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that the light she carried was now spreading in ways she could never fully understand. Ella reached the edge of the forest one last time, standing at the place where her journey had begun. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the land. She felt the weight of her journey in her heart, but also the lightness of knowing she had found her purpose. The willow's whispers were no longer just memories, they were a part of her, guiding her forward. She looked out over the horizon, where new adventures awaited. The path ahead was still unknown, but Ella no longer feared it. She understood now that her journey would never truly end. The whispers of the willow would continue to guide her, and the light she carried would forever illuminate the way. As Ella took her first step into the future, she smiled, knowing that the journey, with all its beauty and challenges, was infinite. Ella's steps carried her far from the village, her heart light with the knowledge she had spread. The wind felt different now, warmer, as though it too was guiding her onward. She could hear the faint rustle of the willow's whispers in her ears, urging her to trust the unknown and embrace the journey ahead. Each new dawn seemed to bring a renewed sense of purpose. As Ella walked, the horizon seemed to shift, opening up new possibilities. She had once feared the future, but now she welcomed it with open arms. The path before her stretched out infinitely, a blank canvas waiting to be painted with her story. She understood now that life was not about finding the end, but about embracing the endless journey of learning, growth, and connection. One crisp morning, Ella found herself in a forest that seemed even older than the one she had first visited. The trees here were grand and twisted, their leaves dancing in the breeze. They whispered stories of times long past, and Ella paused, listening intently. The dance of the leaves seemed to mimic the flow of her life, always moving, always evolving. Ella knelt beneath the largest tree, placing her hand on the cool bark. She felt a surge of energy, as though the tree itself was sharing its wisdom. The dance of the leaves was a reminder that change, like the seasons, was inevitable. But just as the leaves returned each year, so too would Ella's spirit grow and evolve. She smiled, understanding that change was not something to fear, but something to embrace. As Ella journeyed deeper into the forest, she came across a hidden clearing where ancient stones stood in a circle. The stones seemed to hum with energy, and as she stepped closer, she felt the echoes of the past stirring in her soul. These stones had witnessed the passage of countless souls, their struggles, dreams, and triumphs etched into their very being. Ella placed her hands on the cold stones, feeling the vibrations that resonated deep within her. The echoes of those who had gone before her spoke of resilience, of the strength to rise after every fall. The stones whispered that every soul was part of the grand story, and Ella was now a part of that story too. She felt a deep sense of belonging, knowing that she was never truly alone on this journey. The sun dipped low in the sky as Ella crossed a narrow river, its waters sparkling with the golden light of the setting sun. She noticed a bridge ahead, made entirely of light, glowing softly in the twilight. As she stepped onto the bridge, she felt as though she was crossing into a new phase of her journey, one that was filled with even greater clarity and understanding. The bridge seemed to stretch on forever, leading her towards something she could not yet see. The light beneath her feet felt familiar, as though it had always been a part of her. Ella realized that this bridge represented the connection between all things: the past, the present, and the future. Each step she took was a step toward becoming the person she was always meant to be. Ella reached the other side of the bridge, where the landscape before her was bathed in the soft glow of twilight. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that her journey had come full circle. The whispers of the willow, the echoes of the past, and the lessons of the forest were now all a part of her. She was no longer just a traveler, she had become a beacon of light, guiding others as she had once been guided. As Ella stood at the edge of the forest, she knew her journey would continue, but it would no longer be a search. It was now a sharing, a passing of the light from one soul to another. The circle was complete, and she was at peace with the knowledge that she would carry the light of the willow with her wherever her path led next. And so Ella's journey continued, a journey that never truly had an end. The light of the willow, now woven into the very fabric of her being, guided her with every step she took. She understood that life is not just about finding the destination, but about embracing the moments along the way, learning, growing, and sharing the light with others. As she walks forward, her heart full of the whispers of the willow, she leaves behind a legacy of hope and peace, one that will inspire all who cross her path. And as the moon rises and the willow whispers once again, remember, the light is always there, just waiting to be found.